Hi, what's up, y'all? Okay, so welcome to the very first weekly challenge video where I will be giving the answers to the weekly challenge, which was posted both on my website as well as talked about on my new podcast called Suitcase Coder the Podcast because I don't have a name for it yet. If you guys know of a good name for it, let me know. So basically, the challenge was to create a collapsible menu using strictly HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. And yeah, let's get into it. This is kind of what the end result will look like, where you click on a menu item or what it looks like a menu item and it drops down, and then you click it again and it disappears. So that's what I'm going to be going over today. So obviously you want to get started with the HTML, and I'm using codepen.io. There's other ones that you can use, like, your own text editor, or there's one called repl.it. JS Fiddle is another one. I'm using this because why not? Okay, so I'm going to open one up, and as you can see, it has HTML, CSS, and JS already there for you to use. Let's just get started with HTML, right? So by looking at this right here, I just want 3 items. So I'm going to start with the buttons and then the content that's going to show when you click a button. We're going to do button. And then the way I do it is I make a div that holds my content just for later on. Once you want to add a little bit of styling to it, it's a bit easier to have that separated out. And within that, I want to do a paragraph. And if you're wondering where I got these, it's Google. There's a pirate. Lorem ipsum is that like fake text that you get sometimes. And there happens to be one with pirate text, which is kind of fun. All right, so I'm just going to grab this and paste it into my paragraph. Make sure to close that out. And then basically, I'm going to take this and copy it 2 more times. So now I should have 3 buttons and nothing happens because we haven't told it to make anything happen. But what we want is if you click the button, you want the text right under it to appear and disappear. So kind of like toggle on and off. And there are different ways of doing this. This is just one way, but yeah, let's go. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want the browser to listen for every time that a button is being clicked. So if I click on it right now, nothing happens, but we want that to change. So we want it to click and then something to happen. So to start off, I gave every single button a class of collapse, and that way we can target either one of these buttons when they're being clicked on. So on my JavaScript side over here, I keep pointing, but I'll just stick with my mouse. So I'm getting my elements by class name collapse, and if you notice, that's going to match the button class names over here. And give it an I just to be able to loop through it. So our next step is to create a for loop. And the reason we want to do that is because there are so many buttons on this page. You want to make sure that it loops through every one and is listening for the one that you're actually clicking. So if I click on this first button, you don't want the 3rd paragraph to appear and disappear. So that's just kind of one workaround to it. And so I'm going to create a simple for loop. Since we're looping through the buttons, at every button that's being clicked, you want to add an event listener for click. If it's being clicked, then we want something to happen, right? So what I did was I tagged every div that I'm going to be hiding or showing with the class of content. And I did that, as you can see, for every single div. And so over here on our JavaScript side, within the same for loop, I created a variable that holds this content. And basically it's saying for this, as in this button that we're clicking, you want to grab and target the next element sibling. And that basically just means listen for the one that we currently clicked and grab the next element over. So in this case, it's the button, which we're clicking, and then the next element over is going to be this div. All right, so after that, we want to make the style of this content block, this div block, switch back and forth. So we're going to write a simple if-else statement. So if the style of the div that we're on, if that display is set to block, then we want to switch it over to none. And that basically just hides the element. If not, what we want to do is do the opposite. So like I said, simple if else statement right here, you have if the style display is set to block, then you want to switch it over to none. If not, you want to switch it over to block. And that's basically just toggling it back and forth. Okay, so let's test it out. I click it and I already know it's not working because I what's it called, skipped ahead. I skipped ahead a bit, and what's happening is that I'm getting an error with it's saying that get element by class name is not a function, and that is absolutely correct. And that is absolutely correct. I have a typo. It's actually document.getElements by class name. And typos are so annoying, but they make all the difference. Check it out. Check it out. Click me. It's not working. I'm funny. It was not working because I forgot a very important part. So first, before this if else statement can read into anything, we need to actually set the style, the default style. So within my CSS divider thing, I'm just going to target the content div and set the style equal to none. And so now when I save it, it should disappear. No. Even after setting the display to none on all of the content paragraphs or the divs, I was still only getting one to hide. And the reason is because the first div has a typo and it says class equals content. It should be class. So I fixed that. And then the third one just said class content and I forgot the equal sign. So again, typos are annoying but important to pay attention to. So now you have everything hidden, and if I click any of the buttons, it displays. The reason why this wasn't working was because I had the statements here set as double equal, and that's really only used within the if statement, like the conditional block, to see whether something is really equal to block or not. And so the one equal sign kind of sets it, like resets the style to none or block. So now that I fixed that and I click save and I click the button, it should appear and disappear. And you can see it works for all three. I can leave the three open. I can hide the middle one. So now that you have the solution, I hope you go and try it out or compare it to the one that you already did. Let me know if this was helpful or not. And let me know if you would like to see more challenges and what kind of challenges. It's always good to review these things because they do come up more often than you would think on the day-to-day. And if you're interested more in just what I do, check out my website. It's finally up and running. Ayo, I built it using only HTML and CSS. I don't know why I struggle with that so bad. HTML. I built it using HTML and CSS, and I uploaded it to my domain, which I have. And so I'll leave the link down here. Check out my other videos, and check out my podcast where I will be like announcing every week's video. Thanks. And have a great week. Bye.